You voted, and today we're doing a book review on protection spells. That's coming up right after this. I am Mel from Melsdivination. I'm the owner, the operator, and the creator here. I'm just trying to sit a little funny so that the light from the window doesn't fully reflect off my glasses, but it looks like we're just going to have to deal with it. Sorry about that, guys. Today we are doing a book review. You guys voted a while back about how often you want to see book reviews, and the winning vote was a month / every other month. I'm over a month due, so now we're going to do that today. I did put in a poll for voting as well about what kind of book did you want to do? What kind of book did you want me to review? And the very strong winner was protection spells. I also suggested deeper tarot, and that barely got any votes. So today we're going to do a protection spell book review. Before we really jump into it, I said I'm Mel. I have a website. It's melsdivination.com. I offer all kinds of intuitive tarot, oracle readings. I offer coaching, and I'm actually working on the website to be more informative so you can kind of get a better idea of what kind of things I do offer. If you have any questions about that, like maybe you want to get a reading or maybe you want to do a coaching session and you're not really sure what I provide, feel free to email me. My email is melsdivinationreadings@gmail.com, and it's all linked down below, okay? Besides that, we're going to jump right in. We do Witchy Wednesdays, that's today. We do Flip Through Fridays with all my different divination decks. And we also do Astro, Tarot, Energy for the week or for the month, depending on the video. If you like that kind of information, if you like that kind of content, please subscribe. Make sure you hit that notification bell because I do go live occasionally, and I'm starting to go live more. Okay, enough with that. Today, we're doing protection spells. So, this looks kind of funny, right? Look at that. Some of you guys may have already seen this book. I am going to add a picture right now. Okay, so you had a picture of what this book actually looks like. I have it covered because it is a hardcover, and as you could see, it has this very light lavender color. And the thing I was kind of disappointed with, not even a big deal though because I fixed it, was that the actual cover, the actual piece of it, I can't think of the right word, it was porous, which means it absorbs whatever it's sitting on. So if there's a tiny bit of dirt, if there's a tiny bit of oil or water or anything, wherever I put it down, it was picking things up and it was getting stained, and I wanted to keep it nice. So that's why I did an old school method, which a lot of you kids who were born in the 2000s probably don't even know what this is. But back in the day when I was in school, high school, elementary school, we would get books. I know everything's digital now, but we would get hardcover textbooks from school, and we would have to put a cover on them with paper bag to protect them from getting ruined. And I just use those little skills to this. It's not magic, it's not anything special, it's just protection of, I need to protect the protection spell book. Protect the protection spell book. Wow. Say that 3 times fast. Okay. So that's what we're going to get into today. I have referenced this book many times before. The author, I have several of her books. I have one right here. And then I have one down in my herbal section, which you can't really see, but it's down in this bookcase behind me. I have gone over one of her books already. It was The Green Witch. Green Witchcraft, or the Green, something like that. Green Witchcraft, I think. So that I already did. I'll link it up here so you can check that out if you're interested. I really like this author. I like what she represents. I like the majority of how she shares information. It's easy, it's accessible, but she also gives background to a lot of stuff. So she will talk to her audience as if they are fairly new to the material, so that it gives you some information of some foundational groundwork, and I really do like that. This book, actually, I found this book, although I had already owned, this is the third book I purchased. This is the most recent book I purchased from her. Although I already owned the self-care book and the Green Witchcraft book, I hadn't heard about this one, and I saw it recommended, I want to say over a year ago, maybe 2 years ago now, that the Witch of Olivia, the Witch of Wonderlust, and I will link her somewhere down below, she recommended this book, and I, at the time, didn't have a specific protection book and thought, what an awesome idea. I have a few on my wish list, but I didn't have anything specifically. So I grabbed it because I really like this author, and it was a great recommendation. I love this book. This is a 5 out of 5 for stars. Absolutely. Even if you're a beginner, you should absolutely get this book because she goes over beginner stuff. Now, this book is... So this is kind of what it looks like. I know, title page, it's backwards. I'm sorry. It's literally called Protection Spells. Clear negative energy, banish unhealthy influences, and embrace your power. I have lots of notes that I'm going to share with you in just a moment. I just wanted to look up the copyright. It was published in 2018, and we'll get right into it. So, let's talk about how it's set up. So, I really like even just something as simple as the table of contents. I'm going to try not to make this video 25 minutes of me ranting and raving about how much I love this book, but there's not a lot of dislikes. So the table of contents, as you can see, you don't have to read it, but there's 1, 2, and 3 sections, and it's literally sectioned off in the table of contents. I don't believe her other book was like that. I can't remember, honestly, but I love that because you can go right to, okay, I need to do a home protection spell. Okay, I need to do a protection spell for myself. I need to do a protection spell for a friend. I want to do a ritual. It's all right there instead of having to thumb through the whole book trying to, well, what chapter was it in? I don't remember. Love it. Okay, so the 3 parts are Chapter 1, Spell Crafting, which is basically an intro, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Chapter 2, Spells, and then there's, I'm sorry, Part 2 is Spells, and then there's 4 chapters under that section, which is Body and Spirit, House and Home, Family and Friends, and Out and About. And then the 3rd part is Rituals and Protective Objects. Sorry, trying to say this fast. Protective objects, and those are each their own chapter. Rituals, protective objects, okay? She also has a bibliography that I love for other references, and I've mentioned this in other book reviews that I find bibliographies really pertinent because then you can kind of see where their background information came from. You can see that they've done their research, that they know their information, and that it's not just something that they just kind of poof threw together one day. Not saying books without bibliographies are 100% like that, but it makes you kind of question a little bit, like what's the background? Where did you get this from? Have you been researching this? What did you do? Did you take somebody else's information? Okay, so I have likes and dislikes. This is the likes column, and it goes on to the next page on the back. And this is the dislikes. So basically, get this book, but that's the short version. You don't have to watch the video at all anymore after this. Okay, just kidding. Likes. Okay, so I broke it down by section. So the likes in the first section, which was spell crafting and intro, and I already said I was going to go over this a little bit more. I really like how it goes over basics of spells. It talks about protection magic and what it is and when to use it. It talks about ethics. She really gets into ethics. Now, her ethics are not necessarily what every single witch does, and I do kind of wish she said a little something about that, like you need to do. She did say something about do what you need to make your own decisions, but she was talking about karma a little bit, and not every witch believes in that. So just keep that in mind when you read it, that you read it with your own foundation of what your beliefs are, because she shared her beliefs, which is totally fine. Basically, the ethics talked about not doing a spell on a person, and some formats of witchcraft find that to be okay. Then she talked about pre-spell basics, how to cast a circle, how to do it without a circle. She talks about altars. She talks about kinds of spell work, all the different kinds of spell work, like sympathetic magic, candle magic, visualization. She gets into all of that. And then she goes over why it's important to keep records of your spell work. What was the astrology? What was the moon phase? What time of day did you do it? What did you feel like? What did you do? That way you can kind of keep track of if it works and if it doesn't work. And I haven't really talked about that very much here, but I really do highly believe and recommend that you do that to keep track of as much detail as you can for whenever you do spell work, so you can go back and see what this worked like. Perhaps we talked about the freezer spell before, so maybe you did a freezer spell on a waxing moon instead of a waning moon, and you found out that that didn't work as well. Those kinds of things, okay? All right. Next section is part 2, and this is when she gets into the spells. This is spells, right? So the first chapter was all about, of part 2 was body and spirit. So it's your personal body and your spiritual work. And what I really loved about this section is she includes a huge range of varieties, and it's literally a spell in every single page. But there's tips and tricks in there too, like in little sections. Now, there was a large variety of approaches, and I really like that, because not everybody is a visual person the way I am, like visualizing things. So she goes over visualizing. She goes over using poppets, which is sympathetic magic. I just almost said music. She goes over using amulets. This is a amulet. She goes over baths. We've talked about shower magic before. She talks about witches' ladders, which is not magic. I've never actually talked about that on this channel because I don't really use it very much. I don't have a ton of experience in it, but we can talk about that another time. Charm bags, which I've made a charm bag literally on this channel for you guys. That was that energy protection spell. Waters and sprays. Okay, so she goes over all of that in the first chapter, in the first section of spell work, and it gets into, every single spell is a different approach, every single spell is a different purpose, and I really like that. Dislikes: some of her spells call for a good handful of ingredients. Some of them it's 2 ingredients, some of them are 10 ingredients. Some of the ingredients it calls for you may not have. Like one spell, I think she called for 4 or 5 different crystals. If you don't collect crystals, what are you going to do with that spell? So try to keep in mind we've talked about approaches with ingredients before in other videos. Try to keep in mind that you're not 100% locked into, I have to get a brown tiger's eye. You need to find something that's similar to that, whether it is an actual crystal or an oil or an herb, okay? However it works for you in your personal practice, okay? Just keep that in mind. I skimmed the book. I've read this book cover to cover several times. I skimmed it this time around for you guys. So she may actually talk about that somewhere and I didn't see it. I don't see her talking about, I don't recall, I should say, seeing her talk about substitutions. I don't recall her talking about that. She may have, though. She did at one point talk about smoke cleansing, but she used the terminology smudging. Now, when this book came out, it was in 2018. It wasn't super well known in this community yet that smudging is not an appropriate term if you are not indigenous. So you gotta kind of give her a little bit of the benefit of the doubt there, but smudging is not the best term to be using. It's smoke cleansing. That was a dislike. I was really stretching for dislikes. So the next section under spell work is home spells. I have a ton of sticky notes too, by the way, because I liked it so much. Home spells, under home spells, she goes over sprays, which I actually sell some on my channel, on my Etsy shop. This is one I've actually purchased. This is a fiery wall of protection. She talks about sprays. She does talk about smudging. She talks about candle spells, using horseshoes and iron, mirrors. This is a lot about your property spells and room spells, and she also goes into rune stones, using rune stones. I think there's a spell in there about using rune stones to protect your garden, which is pretty cool. So that's all about the property that you are in, you live in, you live around, and protecting that kind of thing. The next section is friends and family. I don't have as many notes on this one. She goes over unblocking a situation. I'm sorry that I'm getting like random autofocus, I just noticed. She talks about calling in ancestors and working with ancestors. There's spells for children, to protect children, and there's spells for pets, which is pretty cool. There was one in there that I liked, but my cat is an indoor cat, and she's never had a collar. But if I ever get another animal, I'm going to put a collar around it, and there's a charm that you can do on the collar, on the pet's collar, that if they ever roam, they come back safely. If they ever kind of wander away, they still come back home. It's like a return to home spell, which I think is really awesome for pets. Out and about, and it talks about, I really liked, and I actually did a reading with somebody not long ago. I'm not going to tell you who it is, but I mean, if they want to give themselves a shout out, that's their business. But I did a reading with somebody about this literal thing, and I forgot that I had this spell. So you might want to check this out, girl. It's an invisibility spell, and I gave her some stuff, some tools that she could use that I was guided to share with her. But this invisibility spell it's a little different than the one that I gave this person, and there's like there's a chant to say, basically the goal of it is to hide yourself when you're out in public from other people. Now, you still exist, you're not invisible, but there is less of a likelihood that you will be noticed or that people will be drawn to you, and it kind of protects you from harm. Then there's a bunch of spells for traveling, things for like in the car or long distance, travel safely, those kinds of things. What I paused on, oh, okay. So the ritual section, I didn't take any notes on, and that's where I just got myself stuck, but it's because it was short. There was like 2 or 3 rituals total. They were more in depth. The point of rituals over spell work, she describes it quite well actually, and the point of it is so that if you want to do something that's much more in depth, there's more steps, there's more ingredients, it's more complicated, there's more things to do. So that's more of like an intermediate, that you've been practicing spell work for a while. That is, if you want to amp up the protection, that's what she recommends. Now, I believe there was only 3 rituals. I didn't really have any notes to say about that. Really just be picky. I put in the dislike section, could use more rituals, because there was only a few. It was a very short amount. And then the final section is she goes over objects, protective objects. And I really like this because there was a couple of things she listed in there that I didn't even realize was considered protective. She goes over colors, what colors are protective, why they're protective. Crystals, same thing. And it's an extensive list. It's not just like the 3-4 crystals that I gave you in my beginner guides to protection crystals video. Animals, gods, saints, and angels. And she talks a little bit about each one. She doesn't get super in-depth, so she talks about some deities. She talks about a few saints from like the Christian Catholic religion, and same with angels. And then herbs. What herbs work really well for protection purposes. So I found that really awesome as well. So that is honestly the entire book. It is, and I've given you, I talked to you a little bit about my daily protection work, and one of those spells I shared with you guys of tying on a white cotton thread. This is my little white cotton thread that I have right next to my daily morning setup, so that I come in here and I put this on every day. You put it on every day. The spell is in that book. I shared it with you in my protection video, daily protection work. You put this on every morning when you're starting your day. You ask it to protect your energy and from absorbing other people's emotions and being grounded. And then at the end of the day, you cut it off and then you burn it and you thank it for doing its job. And I swear, this neighbor knows when I am doing a video, because I can hear a leaf blower approaching and it gets really close to my window. So we're gonna wrap this up, guys. Okay, that's it for today. Again, check out my website. There is going to be a new August video coming out, Tarot and Astro. I'm working on that. I'm actually waiting. My nails need to be done. You can't see from far away, but when you see up close, they're starting to get kind of woo. So I'm waiting, because my hands are zoomed in on when I do those videos, until I get my nails done to film that for you guys. And same with Flip Through Friday, so that you're not zoomed in on my hands and they're looking kind of funky. Shout out to my godmother. I know she's been watching. I didn't even know that they were watching this. It's so awesome that my family supports me on this. She got me this bracelet. She was thrift shopping, and this is like real malachite. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's malachite, and malachite turns out is protective, I found out today in this book. But it's one of my favorite stones because it brings in all kinds of love and healing for your heart and unconditional love, and it's very gentle, but it's a little bit stronger than rose quartz, so it's really funny. I love this. So now I have a little family thing I get to wear, and it protects me all day long. So exciting. That aunt also offered to take me thrift shopping, so that will be coming up, you guys. Witchy thrift shopping. Okay, enough chatting. I will see you guys in the next video. Check out all the other videos I have. Make sure you comment down below if you have feedback, if you have questions. I check out everything and reply to everything. And I hope you guys have an awesome week. I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.